Jason Turner on Facebook wants to know, what trade deficits did the Penguins have that justified the counter tariffs placed on them?
That's an excellent question, isn't it? I mean, the thing about the Heard and McDonald Islands is we all loved that story, principally because we wondered if we might be the first reporters ever to be assigned there and to get there. And for those of us who haven't been to Antarctic islands, we were always hoping that would be the case. And of course, that's why we all were delighted that Greenland became center stage in the story, because we all wanted to travel to Nuuk to report from there. So it's really, I think those penguins, we all were waiting for a whole group of reporters to arrive and discover that there are no humans on those islands. Yeah, I mean, another kind of bizarre insight, isn't it, into the world of how Trump makes policy and how he navigates tariffs. I mean, just an absurdity that actually served the purpose of highlighting how ill thought out his tariff and his trade policies are.
One of the things I love about the job that Robert and I do or have done over the years is that you spend a time going to all kinds of weird places for all kinds of weird reasons. And sometimes many years later, when someone asks you if you've been somewhere, you can't actually quite remember. Did I go? I think so. Maybe for a day, went to some summit, went to some underground bunker. Can't really remember anything about it.
Tom, what is your country count as a reporter? How many have you been to?
I don't know. I can't. I honestly couldn't tell you. What I often find is someone says, "Oh, have you been to Lisbon?" I'm thinking, well, the thing when you go to a summit. I once flew to a G7, I think, or G8 summit on Hokkaido in Japan. We literally flew all the way there. It was with Gordon Brown, who famously didn't allow any time for sleep. So we didn't sleep on the way there. Then the kind of time difference was appalling. So we said, no one's going to cry for me at this stage. But we worked all day and then worked all night. And then you're in an underground media bunker. You're nowhere near the action. It's probably about 2 hours kind of through mega security to where anything's really happening. And so you don't really see anything except an underground media bunker. And then you fly home, sleep deprived, and probably get incredibly drunk and do something stupid on the, end up falling down on the plane home or whatever. So there's a lot, don't you think? I'm going to ask Laura what the most exotic place she's ever been for work or others. But Robert, do you agree? Like sometimes you just can't remember whether you actually went somewhere. And really what it's about is you didn't meaningfully see anything of the place you went.
Well, not only that, but it begs the question, what is it to visit a country? If you've just been into an airport and done some filming, nearby, does that count? And I think the answer probably is not. It's no insight into a country. There's always this danger of sort of parachute journalism. Not to say that I wasn't keen for our foreign editor to send me to the Heard and McDonald Islands or indeed to Greenland. But you're right. I mean, we see countries sometimes in a strange and in a strange way that doesn't lead to profound reporting. But Laura, where have you been that you kind of had some insight, but wish you could have spent longer in?
Similar to what you both just alluded to. I mean, traveling on Air Force One was amazing for those 8 years with President Clinton. But, there were some times where the only time you breathed like fresh air was in the tarmac, because you get out of the plane, into the motorcade, arrive underground, go into a hotel, be there for the meetings, do whatever events, go back down to the basement, get in the motorcade, drive back to the tarmac, get onto the plane. So as everybody, I mean, I've been to amazing places all around the world, whether they were, war-torn areas like Bosnia or, palaces like we see throughout Europe. It really gets down to you are there performing a duty and a job. And so that's your number one. But anytime you could, sneak out and take a walk or just smell a couple of flowers around Buckingham Palace or being inside for that changing of the guard, if I can say, love my time in the UK. Those are the moments.
Okay, I think we should end this podcast and this Q&A by doing best trip, worst trip, working trips I'm talking about, not personal trips here. Let me go first. Worst trip, got shot in Jakarta, so that's an obvious, well-known one. Best trip, I think, the Queen's Golden Jubilee Tour of Australia. Because the Queen, so far as we could all tell, was a very nice person. She tended to attract very nice people to work for her. So it was a very long trip. It was a Jamaica, New Zealand, Australia. and I'm sure the palace won't thank me, but it was the closest I've come to a holiday at work. I think we spent like 2 weeks in Australia or 10 days. It was, it was a little, she'd done a lot of traveling. So it was a couple of events and then the beach. I probably shouldn't admit this, but that was a great trip. Robert, you next, and then we'll give the last word to Laura. Best trip, worst trip, Robert.
Best trip when the poor old dolphins in the Mediterranean had a virus and there were some mysterious deaths. And my foreign editor rang me up and said, "Look, Robert, would you mind chartering a vessel and touring the Greek islands looking for any dolphin carcasses? And no need to report back, but just have 3 weeks of observing dolphins and seeing what's happening." That was a good trip. The worst trip, as so often, is to somewhere that suffers, and sort of Eastern Congo after the Rwanda genocide, and the sense of death and destruction, and human suffering, and unable to do anything to help people was something that stays with me.
Laura, final word to you. Best and worst.
I'd say they were the same. Just taking off of what Robert just said, it reminds me when we went to Bosnia, Sarajevo at the end of the war. It was the worst trip because we saw what just unfolded before all of our eyes for years. But the best part of the trip was the resilience of the human spirit. And so that holds a very special place in my heart.
I've just got to ask you one final question because I was tempted to earlier and I didn't. I've never been, obviously, on Air Force One. What's it like?
It is amazing. It's a ton of fun because it's that moment where even when you go back to the press area and say hello to the press, you're with all of your colleagues. And if you take a second to look around, pinch yourself, call your parents from the plane, you're not doing it justice because it truly is magnificent. And we could do a whole episode on what Air Force One, the movie, got right and what it got wrong. But it's an extraordinary aircraft run by incredible officers from the military. And one of the things we got in trouble for was trying to get onto trays, and on takeoff is tray surfing down the aisles.